Hi, I'm Derek Mooney.
I'm Terry Garvey.
And this is
Read Right Now. They say that a good start is half the battle, and that's what we're looking at this week. How to plan and organise your learning.
And learning, like anything else in life that's worthwhile, doesn't just happen. So today we're going to show you how some careful planning can move your learning along further and faster.
And we'll be getting advice from an adult education guidance counsellor on the best way to make a plan and how to stick to it.
And if all that wasn't enough, we'll have our usual practical hints on budgeting, doing word searches and creating a mind map. Now, I'm staying here to explore the National College of Art and Design.
And I'm off to Drogheda to look at planning of an entirely different kind.
To get the most out of Read Right Now, you should get yourself a copy of the free Read Right Now workbook. All you have to do is pick up the phone and dial 1-800 20 20 65. It's got worksheets and activities to practice, as well as lots more tips and advice.
Here at the National College of Art and Design, students are learning not just to create wonderful works of art, but practical designs for everyday use as well. And while we can admire the beauty and creativity of the work, any student will tell you getting a finished product requires a great deal of time, persistence and planning. And funnily enough, the first stage of that plan requires visualising what you want to achieve. For example, take this prototype here of a lawnmower. It began life as an idea on paper. And in the same way, you've got to start your plan by deciding what you want to achieve.
The other thing about your learning plan is that it has to be tailor-made for you, because as we've seen in previous programmes, when it comes to learning, one size definitely doesn't fit all. Your learning style, the way you learn, that's very much an individual thing, and you have to take that into account when you're planning your learning. For instance, you may be one of those people who functions best first thing in the morning. If so, then plan your learning for early in the day. On the other hand, if you're a night owl, then the reverse is true. And you might find that burning the midnight oil works best for you. Now, take this jacket. A lot of planning went into getting this from the drawing board here to this shop. There's one area of life where we all have to plan at some stage or other, and that's the weekly budget. I hope mine's going to stretch to this. Here's some tips on planning a budget.
A budget is simply a plan of how to spend your money by working out how much is coming in and how much has to be spent. Many people use a budget to plan things, like buying a car or going on holidays, because a budget puts you in control of your money. For example, say you're planning on taking a holiday next summer. You'd start your budget by working out how much you're likely to need. Flights and accommodation, €400. Taxis to and from the airport, €50. Spending money, €350. And presents, another €100, which gives you a total of €900. Then, if you had 9 months before your holiday, you can see that you need to plan to save €100 per month for the next 9 months to pay for it. Another reason for using budgets is to pay those bills that come in every couple of months, such as the ESB bill. You must budget your money to allow for these bills. So in our example, you will need approximately €180 every 2 months to cover your household bills. That works out at €90 each month for your gas, ESB and phone.
The real enemy when it comes to sticking to a plan is letting yourself drift. Think about it. You don't just get into a car and hope to arrive at your destination. You have to know where you're going and how to get there from where you are. Which turns to take, which roads to travel. And planning your learning journey can be very much like that.
In any organisation, planning comes before everything else. Here in Drogheda, Porterhouse's plans are already well underway for the clothing range for autumn 2003. First, they set goals and targets, they organised how best to achieve them, and they planned the work to be done. The same steps apply when you're doing your learning plan. For 28 years, Dubliner Jimmy Keeley was a very successful chef, but during all that time, he put a lot of effort into hiding the fact that his reading and writing skills were very poor.
Well, I found being left-handed, I got an awful time at school that I used to be beaten for holding the pen in my left hand and my hand tied behind my back. And it gave me a big fear of actually going into English class because of not knowing that I would have to lift the pen. I used to have to go to the class, but I had no interest in the class because I knew what was coming up, that I was going to be beaten, you know. I left school at the age of 13 because I was offered a summer job for 3 months in a hotel with my uncle, just for the 3 months. And when I got into the workplace, I seen things that I never seen before in my life, the likes of prawns and cucumbers and lobsters and different types of fish and different types of meat. It was a new experience for me. It was just unbelievable, being asked to do something and being shown properly how to do it. It was so great, it really was. There were simple things, you know, because you were only starting off, but the course has progressed over the year, months and years, like, and then being left to do it on your own was great. And seeing at the end of cooking something and saying, I done that. I've missed out on a hell of a lot not being able to read and write because I toured Europe, you know, when I was younger, whether you were in Paris or even in Germany, and looking up and stuff, and they'd have in English and in German, not being able to, between the difference between German and English, it didn't matter to me. They were all the same to me because I couldn't read them. And even going for a walk, if I was going to the park and I'd see someone reading a book, and I would say to myself, oh, I'd love to be able to do that, but I couldn't because I had this difficulty, you know.
Of course, planning doesn't mean that you can't be flexible. Things can and do go wrong and things can change. You might have more time one week than another. You might have unexpected visitors the very night that you set aside for study. Or you could be ill for a few days. Here in the sewing area, they have to be flexible enough to adapt to the situation if a machine breaks down. So your plan has got to be flexible enough to adapt to changes so that you're not thrown off your stride when the unexpected happens. Now, luckily, doing a word search doesn't involve a lot of planning, just a bit of time and some practice.
In a word search, real words are hidden in a maze of other jumbled up letters. Usually you will be given the list of hidden words to search for. You will find these words if you look for combinations of familiar letters. For example, when you look at this grid first, all you see is a lot of letters. In this word search, we are looking for the words quit, six, and see. When looking for words, you should look for spelling clues. For example, we know that the letter U always comes after the letter Q. So when we are looking for the word quit, we can see that there is a Q followed by U in the top line, and we can find the word quit. Similarly, the letter X is not very common in words, and it almost always comes after a vowel. So we can check for a vowel before an X to find the word six.
A lot of planning is about managing your time. Take your average week. Say this is the number of hours in the week. You need to work out just how many of those hours are actually available to you for study. For example, the hours for working, eating, sleeping. They probably don't vary very much from week to week, and you don't really have very much control over them, but they're unlikely to be available to you for study. But then these hours, which are available for social and family activities, say meeting friends, watching television, socialising. Perhaps you could cut back in some of these areas and use the time that you've saved to spend on your learning. Jimmy's efforts to disguise his poor reading and writing skills meant that his life was lived under constant stress. Just last year, he decided life was going to change.
I decided a year ago that the whole thing was going to change. My reading, writing and spelling. It had to change. I've been carrying this thing around for the last 28 years. I had to do something about it. My daughter came home from school one day and she was on the computer doing her homework, and she asked me could I give her a hand, and I said yeah, sure. Of course I couldn't say no, I can't read and write. So I went up and I pressed, I had a certain amount on the computer, and I pressed the delete button and completely went, and she turned around and she said, Daddy, you're stupid. And I said, this is it, I have to go and do something about this. I left the job to go back to education full time. A good paying job to go back to education, because I felt that the part-time is no good. I needed to get the full attention of the tutors and teachers to start me off. It was very scary going back, not knowing what I was going to come up against, what they were going to give me, what I had to learn. Were they going to give me books to read, or kids' books, or things like that? Not knowing what was ahead of me. That was one of the biggest fears. But then when I got back and seeing I'm not the only person that can't read and write properly, and it made me feel real comfortable, It's a journey that I've never had the opportunity to take. And now I have that chance to take that journey. For as long as that journey takes for me to do, I will do it. It's affected me knowing that what I went through, that I don't want my kids to go through. Not that I check their homework. I mean, they give me a hand with my homework. It brings the family a little bit that more together, because we're able to help each other, where going back through the years, I could never help them because I didn't know how to do it. I'm doing this for myself because I've carried it around too long. I'd just be able to do it and not have any fears whatsoever. It's a goal that I want, and I'm going to get there.
Surf again. There you go.
Even the way you organise your learning on a day-to-day basis can help. Like students in any discipline, you will find that it's easier to start the study session with the things that you don't like or find less interesting, because the fresher you are, then the easier you'll find it to learn. This way you can save the things you like to learn to later. You can keep motivated, and the old brain cells won't find it so difficult to learn.
Have you booked a holiday recently? When was the last time you cooked a meal? You have to plan for these things. You can't just turn up at the airport and expect to travel. Or you can't just go into the kitchen and think you can start cooking. No, you have to plan and organise yourself, whether it be setting dates, booking and packing, or choosing a recipe, buying the ingredients, and then starting cooking at the right time. Learning is a lot like cooking. It takes planning, ingredients, and effort. So here are some tips for how to plan your learning, no matter what kind of learner you are. Number 1, get it clear in your mind what it is you want to learn and why. If it's learning for its own sake, that's fine, but it's also important to have a clear practical goal. There's no point in cooking a meal unless you really want to eat it. Number 2, remember, learning is a slow business. It's very easy to get discouraged and not to notice the progress you're making. Number 3, divide up your learning into different tasks and don't spend long periods on just one topic. It sticks better that way. Number 4, set aside times for learning, but remember, even a couple of minutes snatched at a bus stop or in a waiting room can be very important. Number 5, make a map of the little things you want to achieve and how these build up to the big things. Put the map on the wall. It'll help you see the big picture if you get discouraged. If you organise well and plan your learning carefully, you'll be surprised how quickly you reach your goals.